Today we're going to do some flocking. Welcome to Garb Garage. What's up, people? My name's Dave. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Garb Garage. Today we don't have a car in the shop, but what we're going to be doing is coating some panels in flock. Now, you've seen dashboards done in flock. It's commonly done with rally cars, but we've got a couple panels and a couple of the projects that we want to change color on, but painting kind of looks cheap and we want to go in a different direction. So we've got this flock kit from Lee Valley. We've got a mini flock applicator to allow us to blow the flocking onto the components that we're going to be flocking. Black flock, which we'll be using on some of them, blue flock on others, and the corresponding glue. What are we going to be flocking? Well, let's get these panels out and see what they are. We've got a cluster surround, a radio surround, and two A-pillars. So first step, what we need to do is get these things cleaned up. We got some soapy water. We're gonna rinse them down, get any grease, get any sand, get any grit, get anything off them, and then we'll coat them with the glue that corresponds with the individual color of the flock. That's very important. Get them coated, and we'll start flocking them individually, one by one. All right, so we're letting this guy dry here. So one of the first things that we're gonna wanna do is load our flock. Once we get the glue adhesive onto the panels, we've only got about 20 minutes before it completely dries. While we've got smaller pieces, it's gonna be all right. We don't have to work that fast. If you're doing something as large as a dashboard, you've generally gotta work pretty quickly to be able to cover the whole thing before the parts and the glue dry on. I'm going to get our mini flocking gun, get her opened up. Inside, we've got an instruction manual. So we're gonna fill our half tube, the one without the holes in the bottom, about halfway up with the blue suede in the case of this panel that we're gonna be doing here. Bag. One thing I'm noticing is this fiber is extremely fine. We're about halfway full there. I know it's hard to see. That's about halfway full. Load the bag back up, put the tube back on, and that portion's ready to go. Next thing we need to do is get the adhesive. So that one there is the medium blue. Get the can opened up so we can see that the blue is in fact blue. Shocking. Because we're coating this entire piece, we don't necessarily need to tape anything off. Even if you do, the fibers only adhere to where you put the glue. So we're going to stir this up a little bit, and then I'm going to start applying glue to the piece, and then we'll have approximately 10 to 15 minutes to get the flock on it. That's basically completely coated. Now we're gonna start the timer. We've got our flocking gun, and we're gonna get flocking right away before we run out of time. I'm surprised by how much coverage I'm getting out of this. All right, I'm gonna call this piece finished. I think we've got way more on it than we need to. Now it's gotta sit for at least 10 to 12 hours to let it properly dry, and they don't recommend handling it for at least another 72 hours to a week after that. I'm gonna move this off to the side. We're gonna get the next blue piece and get that one going. Theoretically, we could have done this in a container and saved all of the flock that I've used here. That being said, the pieces are so large, I'd have to get a large box. I mean, if you're doing it at home, fine, but to be able to get a camera on it, it'll be very difficult. So I'm just gonna chalk up all the wasted flock to being wasted flock. So I'm gonna get the other piece over here, ready to start coating that one onto the next one. First, I'm going to load the flocker up again. Get our glue. Start covering this piece. All right, let's get to flocking. top open, and we can see that this is definitely black in color. So we got our new brush, don't want to double dip. Also, new tube. I'm not going to be using the old blue tube because there's way too much of a risk of cross-contamination at that point. Plus, when you buy the kit, you can get them to throw in another tube for, I think it costs an extra $5. So at that point, well worth it. We're going to load the tube up with black. If I was to do this again, I would likely get a funnel. Yep, that's good. Should have taken that paper out. Awesome. All right, so other than that disaster, let's coat this thing with the glue. Okay, so we're going to reload the canister, get the second A-pillar down here, get that one coated up, and get that one flocked as well. Coverage looks good. Let's get the flocking. Now it does say to wait for a minimum of 10 to 12 hours before handling them, so we're gonna let these things dry overnight. Now we're gonna give them a couple days, probably well over 72 hours before we touch them again, but so far so good. Everything's looking pretty decent. I'm hoping once we knock the extra flake off of them, the suede looks really nice. Now if they stay like this, I'm still pretty happy with them. Just a little bit of the extra overfluff off of it. I'm just hoping we don't have any patches or areas where we didn't get great coverage. Let's let 72 hours elapse at minimum and see what we're looking at. Okay, so it's been about a week. We've let all the pieces dry. We've knocked off the excess. Let's see how it turned out. So first piece we have, a dash around. Honestly, it turned out very well. We've got the vents reinstalled in it. We've got a lot of the lower trim pieces installed in it as well. This thing is going to make a really good addition to the Civic once we get this on. So I couldn't be any happier with how this turned out. So let's get on to the next piece and see how we did it on the other ones. So the next blue piece we had was the screen. Now I've gone ahead and installed the actual screen back into the assembly. I think this is going to be a huge addition to the Civic once we get this finally in. Coverage is pretty good on it. Only things, there are at certain angles, a couple of visible lines on the top of the unit. Now if I was to do this again, likely I would sand it to rough it up a little bit to allow the glue to stick better, but overall, unless you're really looking for it, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to call this one a super success as well. Last piece we've got are the A-pillars. Now these came out really nice in my opinion. The coating is even across it. I don't have a lot of splotches. I'm very happy with how these turned out. I can't wait to get them installed in the car. All right, so all of those panels look absolutely amazing. I couldn't be any happier with how they turned out. The blues look awesome, and the blacks give it that luxury look that textured plastic just didn't give it from the factory. I can't wait to see how these pieces look on the vehicle. This is something relatively easy that you can do at home, something that's relatively inexpensive. I'm gonna leave the description in the link below on where to get all the flocking materials from, but this is something straightforward, easy, and yes, something you should definitely try if you've got a project car that you wanna make stand out from others in the pack. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to watch me today. If you've learned something, awesome, leave a comment. I try and read and respond to everything that's dropped in the comment boxes. All the music you hear is DJ Smokey. You can catch him on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.